Welcome. This is Main Street Media, Utah, and this is the Liberty Moms Show. Liberty Moms are the original Secretaries of Defense. We are the real defenders of the home front, and we are there when it comes to protecting our families and our communities. My name is Dalane England, your host today, and I'm so happy to have you join us. We have a great lineup. We have some super guests, and I hope that you will pay attention and listen and maybe get your paper out because you may want to um, you may want to look at some of this legislation and maybe even want to get involved in it. And excuse me while I take a quick moment because I did send the link to our first guest, who is Kat Huntley, and I just received notification from her that she did not receive it, and it's going to be really hard for her to join us if she doesn't have the link. And I really want you to hear her story. It's quite amazing. It's just absolutely amazing. Amazing person, amazing what she's been through. I'm excited to share that with you, and so I apologize. I'm going to hurry and let's see, and make sure she has that so she can jump in. And there we go. And okay. And I'm so sorry. This is not what anybody wants to hear or be subjected to. Nothing worse. Maybe a few things worse, but okay. So she should have that. And her name is Kat Huntley. And she's got an amazing story to tell. I met her up here at the Capitol. I'm at the Utah State Capitol right now. I met her here. I heard her testify in committee on a bill that I wasn't really even interested or following. But her testimony was so interesting, literally so gripping and so inspiring. I just thought it would be so wonderful to have her come on and talk about her experience and how she's been able to overcome multiple sclerosis, which she'll tell you about, and just how she's overcome it, and how legislation does impact us and affect how we our daily lives. And I just feel like we passed so many bills. Like right now, we have over 950 bills at the Utah State Legislature in the shortest legislation session in the entire United States, 45 days, and that counts Saturday and Sunday. And so that is, just there's no way you can even read that many bills, and I can't figure out why we need that much legislation. I'd rather have less laws and more freedom. But there are times when we do need legislation in order to protect or secure our freedom. And then also, as we come up with new technology, new things that happen, and technology changes life, it changes things. So we are finding that we do have to make some adjustments and make things current as new things like that come up. But I would love to see us do a lot less bills myself. I would love that. It would be awesome. Okay, she got it, so she should be joining us. We also, after Kat, later in the program, we will be having Carrie Bartholomew. Carrie Bartholomew is a total Liberty mom, and she is on the front lines. She is a part Black woman, and she is going to be talking about the DEI, the diversion, equity, and inclusion, and what it really means, what it actually does, and how it is implemented. And so stay tuned for that. But right now, I am so excited to have Kat join us. And Kat, can you hear me? Because, okay, I need to do something because, okay, fantastic. Kat is in. Welcome, Kat. How are you doing today?
Hey, thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm doing well. How are you?
Can you hear me?
I can.
No, you cannot hear me.
I can't hear you. Can you
I
not
have
hear me?
not had to run this board myself. We've always had my producer run it.
Uh-huh.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Welcome, Kat.
Can you hear me?
Okay, this is a little bit of a problem.
Oh no.
Not a little bit. Well, I have never had this happen. And I don't have any idea what to do about it because I am looking at everything. Nothing. You cannot hear me.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, I'm going to have to get.
Dalane, do you want me to go off? Do you want me to get off and get back on?
Okay, that is a frozen picture, Kat.
Shoot.
You are in.
All right. I'm going to get off and then get back on.
Oh.
Is that better?
Kat, can
Yes.
you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me?
You cannot hear me.
I can.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
You're there. To talk. Try talking. Can I hear you?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Talk.
I'm talking right now. Can you hear me?
You talk.
I'm talking. I'm on the show. Everyone, the sidebar says that
we are going to take a break.
Okay.
And you take a break, but don't go too far because it won't be too long. I'll get my producer in here and he'll get this problem solved. Catherine, can you help me? Nothing.
Nothing. Can you hear me? No.
Okay. Catherine, can you hear me?
I cannot hear you. I mean, I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
I can hear you. Okay, fantastic. I can hear you. Okay, great. Okay, we're up and
going.
going.
Picture as well?
Yeah, I would love to see you. That's totally up to you.
I mean, it says that I'm on. Can you see me and hear me?
I can see you, but I think it's a frozen picture or, I don't think it's you live, but at least I can see you. Very beautiful, so it's quite pleasant.
Thank you.
Very nice. And I have already introduced you, Kat. So I've already introduced you and how I came to meet you. And I really wanted you to tell your story because nobody tells your story like you do. So if you want to just go ahead and tell us, I told everyone that you got MS. So tell us a little bit about how that came on. You're very young to get MS.
Yeah.
And so kind of tell us your journey of getting MS. I'd like to start there and then set the stage there.
Okay. Well, tell me if you lose me, then just stop me and I'll start the story again.
Okay, great.
But I found out that I had MS about 2 years ago. I was 35 years old. I had 3 young kids, and I had found myself, I was starting to see white spots in my eyes, and I thought you always need your eyesight, so I was a bit stressed about it. And I got the advice to just go into the ER, make the expense. I went in, and it was a big surprise. They found over 23 lesions throughout my body. And that's a lot. I mean, the average person when they're diagnosed, has, about 5. And they were just everywhere. And so I lost my ability to see for a while. I come to find that I had, about a year before, I couldn't feel my feet. I was having a hard time walking, and I thought it was just my shoes. So I got new shoes, and about a month or 2 later, my feeling came back. But that was actually an MS attack, and I just didn't know it. And so I've been having all these back problems and leg problems and feet problems. And then finally, when my eyes went, I thought something's going on. So it was all connected, and it was all multiple sclerosis.
Wow, that is just so unbelievable. And you're so young. Now, don't you have a family history of that in your family?
I don't. There's been a complete surprise to us. Yeah,
wow.
nothing in our family history. So I was actually nothing at all. And it was kind of maybe a blessing in disguise, because when they say, if you've got 23 masses, it's much better for that to be MS rather than like cancer, brain cancer or something. So I guess glass half full.
And you know what? That is something that I was very impressed with from your testimony. It was very evident that you were an absolute glass half full, not glass half empty person. And I do think that that makes such a difference. And I know that you know that that has made a difference in your health and your outlook and how you're dealing with things, is that you're very positive, you're very optimistic. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to have you on.
Oh, thank
It's
you.
pretty amazing because I think a lot of people would have a great excuse to stay in bed and curled up and cry, or yeah, who knows what. I
Yeah.
just think it's very impressive. And you have 3 children, is that right?
Yep, 3 kids. Oh, I got them right there. Look at that. There you go. There are the 3 kids in the back.
Yeah. That is so awesome, and that is exciting. And you want to be there for your kids, and your kids deserve and need their mom to be there. So I love that you are open and looking for options and things that you can do. So tell us about what you discovered that actually helped you with your MS.
Yeah, I think that my situation was a bit unique because I was so advanced for being so young, right? Everything was good. So there are so many new developments in MS treatment, but the best they can do for as far as like pharmaceuticals and getting medicine is to stop the MS in its tracks right now. Well, unfortunately for me, it's already pretty they're all there, you know. And so I had to figure out ways to I was researching a lot of different ways to try to minimize my symptoms, alleviate my symptoms because I was having pseudo attacks very regularly. It was hard for me to drive my kids around. It's hard to walk. And a friend suggested, "Hey, have you ever done an ice bath?" And nobody likes to be cold, right? So I said, "No, I'm not going to try it. It's so ridiculous."
Yeah, no, that does not sound fun.
No. And I was like, I'm going to eat vegetables for a little bit instead. But, when you get, I was having such regular attacks, I thought, "Oh, I'll try anything. Yeah, okay, let's go buy some ice and see what happens." And I was so surprised by it because it was a night and day difference. So for instance, if I get hot, like if I try to go exercise, if I get hot, my eyes start to sparkle. I see white everywhere. And I couldn't bring my eyesight back for up to 2 hours after like going on a 3-mile run. And so it was a big stressor. And summers were a big stressor. But then I started doing these ice baths and my eyesight would come back before I got out of the water. 3 to 5 minutes, and I'd come out and I could see crystal clear. I mean, I wear glasses, but I was back to normal.
That is just so amazing. So even your very first time, it had immediate effects,
Yeah, it was
immediate
amazing.
results. And so how often do you get in these cold baths now?
I probably get in 5, 6 days a week. Take a break on Sunday to
Uh-huh.
relax. But anytime I exercise, anytime I know I'm going to get hot, I need to get in an ice bath directly afterwards so I can still function.
And you still exercise.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's been a big motivating factor. Talking to my neurologist, he says, "Well, you could try doing a Mediterranean diet. Exercise helps." And I said, "But, to my doctor, if I exercise, I can't see, so I've got a problem." And he said, "Well, it's double-edged sword." But I found with ice baths, I can continue to exercise. I did 4 triathlons this last 2023. I've
Wow.
signed up for 3 more this summer. So I'm hoping that I can continue to function and walk and just be my normal self, my healthy self.
That is amazing. Yeah, so as long as when you exercise, then you're going to plunge.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Cold plunging for you, is that harder or about the same?
It is well, it's getting easier. You got to get over the initial hump of it. I think if I were to advise anybody, if I'm going to say, Dalane, you go get in, just remember the first 30, 45 seconds is the hardest, right? I
Right.
mean, I don't know if
Absolutely.
any of your listeners, or if you have ever just gotten in a river, Provo River or something,
Uh-huh.
and that
Exactly.
first 30 seconds where it's just shocking. But
It
then you
just
get
takes
used
breath
to it and
away.
your body, yeah, it takes your breath away. But then you find you start breathing and you find, you get into a flow state and it's a really invigorating experience. and you get out, and I do it for the anti-inflammation, but there are all these other benefits, right? It reduces your stress. It gives you this great dopamine hit. So I'm really happy all day, and my kids enjoy that too. And it's just been a really night and day difference. I recommend it to a friend that deals with depression, and they're like, you know what? That's been very helpful. So I mean, I know it sounds silly. No one wants to be cold, but it has been such a game changer for me.
The things that really are effective and good for us often don't taste good or feel good. And
Yeah.
life isn't about being comfortable all the time. And you can't enjoy the comforts without being uncomfortable. It's the only way to really know how good you have it is to know how bad you might have it, or, you have to have that opposition. So I love that. And this is so fascinating to me. It's so interesting because I wouldn't have guessed that could make such a difference in so many people's lives. So you found even for depression, because
Yeah.
it circulates your metabolism, or it makes the brain flow. Like, do we have any idea why that helps with depression?
There are studies out there, and I can send them to you, but from my recollection of reading them, it gives you a 6-hour dopamine hit. So you're extra happy for those 6 hours. And then the come down, there's no come down. So you
Huh?
think about, people taking pharmaceutical, which is fine, but sometimes there's a dip. There's no
There's
dip.
a crash.
Yeah, there's a crash. There's no dip in this. You're just like, oh, well, back to normal again. But it gives some people that feeling of happiness that maybe they have trouble experiencing elsewhere, right? So, from personal experience with people I've recommended it to, they just loved it. I have a father-in-law. My father-in-law has Parkinson's, and he's tried it just a couple times because he doesn't like to be cold either. But it helps reduce his tremors as well. It's just I want everybody to do it. I think people think I'm selling something, but it's just so great.
Well, when you find something that you love and that has worked so much for you, it is natural and very lovely to share it with other people and help allow them the opportunity. And you're not forcing anybody, but they do have a chance to know that it exists. And I love knowing what you have done. How much it has benefited you is just incredible to me. So you have turned this into a little bit of a business, though. You and your brother decided to start a cold plunge business. I'm sorry, what?
Yes, we're trying to.
Okay.
We have a bill that needs to pass.
Got you. Okay. And that is what just fascinated me again, literally blew my mind, that you actually needed a bill to make it so you could start this business, a cold plunge business.
Yeah.
Because tell us, like, right now, if you want to do it, what are the ramifications and the regulations that you have to jump through in order to own a tub that you would rent out, you would let other people use for money?
Yeah. So cold therapy is so new, right? And so states, they've had a hard time figuring it out. Utah has had a hard time figuring out what to do with this type of business. And they've decided, or they had in the last few years, they've decided that these tubs should be regulated as commercial swimming pools. And there's a host of problems with that, because commercial swimming pools have to have lifeguards and fences and ladders. They have to have, there's a designated angle that you have to have on each wall. They have to be built out of concrete. There are just so many rules, right, that don't really fit a tub. They don't fit a tub. And so if you're going to go and try to say, okay, well, I guess maybe I need to build a custom commercial swimming pool to get this done, the cost just explodes. Just to build one tub would be over $300,000 to build it.
Which makes it very expensive for anyone to use, because then you have to charge a lot of money for people to use it. So the therapy becomes mute. It becomes unaffordable for most people.
Yes, that's right. And so you want to have a price point where most people can go. And for me specifically, I want other people that deal with various disabilities to be able to get in. This isn't like some fancy hoity-toity spa experience. This is an experience that I want to share with an everyday Utahn.
I love that. It's not a hoity-toity spa experience. No, it's the opposite of that.
No, it's not. You're not going to be comfortable.
You're not going to get pampered. You're going to.
It's going to be a bit cold.
You're definitely going to get cold and wake up and know you're alive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, and of course, I think most reasonable people can see that is quite ridiculous. That you don't need a lifeguard and a ladder and a fence around a personal cold tub. That is just not even real. It's so ridiculous. Okay. So tell us what the, I don't remember the number of the bill, and I've been so busy with so many other bills. I should have been
Yeah.
prepared with it, but it's
I think it's SB 106. It's a Senate Bill
SB,
106.
it was an SB, so it's a
Yeah.
Senate bill,
Yep.
SB 106,
Yep.
and
And it was
pool tubs.
sponsored by Kurt Bramble. It has passed the Senate, so that's exciting. And it's just
It got past the committee and the floor of the Senate.
yes,
So
it
now
did.
I think it's waiting in rules. I don't think it's been assigned to a committee yet, has it?
For the House?
Yes, the House committee. So it'll
I
be in,
think so.
okay, it
I
will
think
be
it
in
is.
House committee, maybe today.
Yes, I think it is today because I've been asked to come back up. So I'm going to go up again
That's right.
and talk to the
Yes.
House today.
Okay, yeah, so it's today at 2 o'clock in committee. And
Yes.
then assuming it passes the House committee, then it will have to pass the House floor. And then I can't see any reason the governor would veto this, so we're pretty much out of the woods. So today will be a very defining moment for this bill. And basically tell us what the bill actually does.
The bill helps these cold tubs follow float spas. And I don't know if I talked about this with you before, but float spas, think those float tanks, those zero gravity, they close it in on you, and they're very popular. Those, which are basically the same dimensions as tubs, they're totally exempt from pool code, right? So these cold tubs, we just want to piggyback on that code and say, these tubs, and they give you specifications of what this tub is. It can be so many degrees. It has to be less than 180 gallons, so it's not a pool. It has to have filtration. As long as it fits those specifications, it's exempt from pool code. It can deal with its own regulation, and that is what we're looking for, just to be pulled out of pool code.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And I don't think you had any opposition in the Senate, did you?
I don't think so. I think on the floor, I think it almost passed unanimously. I'd have to go double check on it.
So this should be fine. I don't see it having any problems. It just is interesting how we do need to actually pass a law to put it in the right place where it should clearly, self-evidently belong. I can't really understand why they automatically put it in pools when it really is a tub and more aligned to a hot tub.
Yeah.
It's just a hot tub that's got cold water instead of hot water.
Yeah. Yeah. But
So
fingers crossed it goes through today because it's been,
yeah.
I really feel passionate about it, and I'd like to provide it to the community. I think anybody would, even if we didn't do this business. I just think that people should be able to come and access this and be healthy and get healthier from whatever they're facing.
I absolutely agree, and I love that because it's something we can share. And I'm just so excited about the success that you have had. Now, I just want to ask you, just for fun, have any of your children tried
it? Yeah. So my oldest is 9. So she said, okay, we have a stream that goes through our little neighborhood. And so
lovely.
she'll sit in there and she'll go for it. And she said, Mom, I'm going to do 1.5 minutes because I know that that's what you need. And I'm like, okay, the first 45 seconds is the hardest. And she says, okay. And so then all of the kids actually have done it in the river. And then an actual ice bath, my oldest has done before. But they see the excitement of it. It's very exciting to cheer them on as little kids because it's doing something hard. And it's a challenging experience that I think that they can learn from just as doing hard things.
Absolutely. That is just so, I love that. See, they're learning so many great lessons. And I just think it would be kind of fun as a family. This is a cold plunge challenge. Let's do it together as a family, bring people together. They can really understand what you're going through. And I'm really excited. I'm very excited to learn more about this because I love my health. I've been blessed with very great health and I love it. And as I'm getting older, I want to maintain and hang on to my good health. So I'm looking for everything that really is good for you. My husband always takes cold showers. At the end of his shower, he'll turn the cold water on. And I've done it before, and that's why I don't do it because I don't like it. But you really inspired me. And I just want to say how much I am so impressed and very inspired how your amazing, just great attitude, your positivity. It's so infectious, and it really is inspiring. I think you have already done so much for humanity just by your
Oh,
great example and by just putting that great energy out there. And so I want to thank you for that. And I really hope that this business goes. I'm really excited because I'm really excited. I want to come and be one of your customers. I
oh,
plan to.
I would love to have you. Thank you that's so nice. But I would love to have you there. I'll let you know when it opens if we can get this bill passed.
Okay. And so then if the bill passes, or when the bill passes, because it will pass, so then you and your brother are going to open a business, and how many tubs will you have?
We have 4 tubs, and we also have saunas in the studio as well. So you get all hot in the sauna. You have some hot therapy. Heat shock proteins have other benefits, and then you go and you can sit in one of our 4 cold tubs that have great filtration on them and are get very cold depending on how cold you want to get, and you get to have that experience. So and we're going to be in Pleasant Grove, so we're right off the Pleasant Grove exit, conveniently located.
Wonderful. That is great. Well, I wish you all the best, and I really am excited to come. And I promise you, I am very excited. I will come and give it a shot. I'm excited about it. Thank you so much for being with us, Kat. And I know that this bill, I'm very confident the bill will pass. We'll make sure it does. I think it's
Oh,
great.
thank you so much. Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
me.
Thank you. You have a beautiful day, and
You
we'll
too.
see you up here. I'm here now. We'll see up here at 2. Look forward to
I'll
it.
see you at 2. All right.
Okay.
Take care.
Great.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Catherine.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much. Thank you. Okay, yeah, that is just so exciting to me. I just love people that overcome massive adversity and really just manage to get through and do not look at the hardness of life, but the beauty and their amazing will. And so she's very impressive. And also wanted to bring up, like she said, she is coming up to the hill. She is coming up here to exercise not just her right, but her responsibility to be engaged in this amazing legislative process. We live in the most amazing country ever created because we do have first country to have a really a constitution that is still in effect, that has lasted so long. It is a great constitution because it protects the rights of every individual, not just the masses, and it doesn't protect others at the expense of someone else. And it also it has representative government so that it allows us to get on with our day and do our thing and elect people to represent us. We have the rule of law, which is wonderful because we're not having a law enforcement just decide, well, I don't like you, I don't like what you're wearing, I don't like the car you're driving, or for whatever reason, they can just pull us over or exert authority over people. We have a rule of law. So we know what the law is. We have decided on what the law is, and we as a society agree to that law. And that's why this is such an important process, that people, everyday citizens, regardless of what your walk in life, regardless of your political or ideology, you can absolutely come up and get involved. I would like to invite anyone who wants to call in. The number is 385-899-2134. It's 385-899-2134. And we would love to have you call in. You can talk about whatever legislation you want to. You're welcome to talk about Cat and the cold tubs. But if you want to talk about, we are going to be talking now about some of the bills. There are so many. Like I said, there's 950 bills right now up for consideration. And because it's such a short 45 days, we go through this process is very fast and it moves very, very quickly. But it also, even though it moves quickly and things happen very quickly, it also, what is amazing is that it's not super easy to pass a bill. It has to be introduced. It has to be written and introduced and get numbered. Then it has to pass the Rules Committee. The job of the Rules Committee is to decide if this bill has merit, if it should be taking up time of representatives and citizens in even discussing it. Is it a good thing? Should we even go there and take it? And so it goes to the Rules Committee, then it goes to a committee of 15 to 20 representatives or senators, and they discuss the bill, and all options. And this is where it's really important for citizens, because in that committee, we as citizens can come up and we can express our opinions. We can share how we feel and what we think, but also, which I think is much more important than sharing how you feel, is sharing facts and figures and information that is real. So we have a chance to educate our legislators and make sure that they do not just hear one side. They're not just lobbied by one side, whether it be paid lobbyists or by someone with opposite ideology as yourself, but that we have a chance to come up and share and make sure that they hear both sides of every issue, that they get the opposite side and get to hear what I like to call the truth, the facts, and share that with them. And of course, there are always things that are very difficult and are on both sides. Like, you can understand where people come on both sides, which leads me to a bill that we are working on right now. I would very much like to discuss it. It's HB 128, and it's on the first substitute right now. And that just means that we took the original bill and that either someone else or the sponsor made some changes to the bill, and now it's been substituted so that it's slightly different than it was when it started, and sometimes more than slightly. But this bill is called Tobacco Cessation Amendments. And I really love this bill. I have one issue with the bill, but as a whole, I love this bill because I love that there are cessation programs out there specifically targeting young people who are addicted to any kind of nicotine, whether it be smoking, chewing, and now the biggest evil is vaping. And the problem with vaping is that it is more addictive than cigarettes, which is amazing because cigarettes are so addictive, but also that it targets young people because young people can vape and their parents never know. I have a friend whose son vaped in his own bedroom at home because you can't smell, it's just vapor. The parents could never smell it. And unfortunately, he practically burned their house down. He lit their house on fire because he was vaping in his room, and I think he fell asleep, if I remember right. But, that's a very sad thing. And see, kids feel like, oh, I can just do this whenever and wherever, because it's really hard to identify and get caught by their parents. Although I find it very disturbing that the schools are allowing young people, which is against the law, under 21, to or maybe it's 18. I'm sorry, because I can't remember for sure. But anyway, in high school, most anyone in high school, it's against the law. And so they are vaping at school, and the schools are just allowing it because they said, well, if we don't let them vape here, then they leave the school and then they're gone, and then they're still doing it, but they're sloughing class or they're absent for class. And I would say absolutely we should not be allowing them to vape at school, because that is saying it's okay. When the schools allow it, you're literally verifying it. You're saying it's okay. You're validating it. We're fine with it. And you're also getting other children and other students exposed to it, and you're getting other kids to participate in it. That is not a smart idea. So our schools absolutely should just end that practice immediately. But I do like the bill because it makes it so that they can take a cessation class and be involved in a cessation class. And I want all people, no matter how old or young they are, if they are addicted to, or if even slightly addicted to vaping or cigarette or smoking in any way, I love that we have these cessation classes and that we offer help. And it comes from the health department to give people help to get off of it. And I am 100% supportive of that. The issue that I have is, do we want young people or anybody, do we want minors under 18, do we want the government to put in code that they can take these classes without parental knowledge, without any parental involvement? Now, we know when children when they have their parents and their family support, the chances of them having success are very highly increased. They're just amazing at that, how much more success they have when they know that they can count on their parents, and their parents are right there with them, cheering them on, helping them, and supporting them. That is very, very powerful. We do understand a very serious and very real problem. Kids that have started vaping know their parents, a lot of them, most of them, know their parents do not approve and would not like them to do it. And in Utah, we are not big smokers in Utah. And so most kids know that their parents do not do it and would not approve of them doing it. And that's why they vape, because they can do it without their parents knowing. So they don't want to go get their parents' permission to take a cessation class because they don't want the parents to know they're doing it and they're trying to get off of it. I totally respect that. I get that. But what we're actually doing is we have a law right now in code in the state of Utah stating on every issue, parents need to be involved, because once we put in code that we do not have to have parents involved in things like this, we're basically undoing our current law, which says children cannot go have an abortion without parental permission. They cannot receive birth control without their parents knowing. Now, this was brought up by my representative, actually, who several years ago, not that many, but a few years ago, proposed a bill that would say, since kids are having sex anyway, we want to offer them birth control without parental permission because they're already having sex and that will keep them from getting pregnant as minors. And that sounds reasonable, but basically what you're saying is the government is now coming in between the parent and their children. The government has become the parent. And we're going to put that in code so that parents are no longer know about or involved in their own children's lives and in these massive important decisions. Yes, parents, we need to be chill. We need to know our kids are going to make some bad decisions. And we could actually maybe use a little training in that when we find out that our children have been participating in behavior that is not just illegal, but unwise and self-destructive, that we need to be able to deal with this and address it in a really positive manner and not lose it. And that we need to have a relationship with our children so that they can come to us and talk to us. And that's a great thing for all of us to learn. I have 6 children. I felt very much like I wanted that relationship with my children, but they also knew that I didn't approve of things that they did. And so they weren't eager to come to me and share with me everything that they were doing. And then when I did find out, when they did let me know, then we're right there, lovingly helping them, coming together. So kids have a tendency to think their parents are going to freak out and they're going to be so mad. And I would say, let's give parents a little bit of credit. We might not be pleased. We probably won't be, but we love our children more than anything. And we've all made mistakes. We've all done things in life. And I think as parents, we realize that in order to have our kids come to us and have that relationship, we cannot blow up. We cannot freak out. We might cry, but we will not freak out. And I think most parents have learned to be in that category. But I mean, I can't speak for every parent, and I know as young people, we don't always get it. I think this part of the bill, like I say, I love the bill. I think the part of the bill that would say children do not have to notify or include, or the health department. So I would like to see the bill say that children do not have to notify their parents. They can sign up for the class, they can get involved in the class, but within a certain length of time, very short length of time, the health department would have an obligation to notify parents that their child is taking a cessation program. And I think that is a great way to handle it, because the child doesn't have to have that confrontation with their parents. The health department can go and explain to the parents and have an adult conversation, and the parents have a chance to presence themselves and get a hold of themselves and get a grip, because it may be very shocking for some parents. And then they have a chance to address this with their children from a very mature and level-headed way. So I really like the idea of the health department being the one that informs the parents if the child does not want to. Of course, the minor has the opportunity to go to their parents, and we hope that they do. And I think that this bill can certainly support, and I believe does support children or minors in including their parents. It does support them. It doesn't force them. It does support them. But I would like to see that small amendment where it basically just says that the health department must in a given length of time to be determined. Like we would decide that, the legislature would decide what is reasonable. The health department could have some input in that. Certainly the people who teach the cessation classes could say, what's a reasonable time? Get the kids in and help them know that we're here to help and we can give them success and we can help them notify their parents and we'll do it for you. So that can all be part of the cessation class. So I am I'm very optimistic that we will be able to work a compromise on this bill. The sponsors of this bill are amazing people. They are very honorable, filled with integrity, and they are both very supportive of parental rights. And they also very supportive, as I am and the rest of us that care about this bill, very, very supportive of helping young people get off of all types of tobacco products. And so I just really want to give a shout out to Senator Kennedy, who is the chair of the committee that saw this in committee, and how he was so gracious and how well he handled this, and so respectful of all parties involved. And I was just ever so impressed, as I almost always am. But I think, Senator Kennedy is, it just handled it so well. And I want to also give a shout out to Representative Peterson, because he also was just so professional and so respectful of everybody and sharing their ideas. And I just love that and appreciate it so much. Okay, we're going to talk about another bill, because this bill is very, very related. And this bill is HB 182. It's on sub 3. It's student survey amendments. This is also such an important parental rights bill. It's so vital. It is really essential that I just think it's a really important bill to support and to get through. And I thought that I had it pulled up, but I must have somehow X'd it out. But this is a really awesome bill too, because it basically says that when there are surveys in the schools, when we have school surveys, that obviously, it's actually on substitute 4, apologize, my mistake. It says that this, in order to obtain, to do a survey in the school, a parent has to be notified. There has to be parental consent, and so the parents have to know. And I think we could even make a few more improvements to this bill, but I love this bill. Representative Carrie Ann Lisenby is the sponsor of this bill. And it removes Utah Student Health and Risk Prevention statewide survey. It takes that out of the bill, which I love, which is good, because then it applies to all surveys. But what it does is I think this is a really important part of code that everybody needs to know and understand, is 53E. So if you go to Utah Code 53E-9-203, that in that section, it reiterates or puts into code that we're doing surveys or any of these programs involving young people, and I'll just read you the list: political affiliations, mental or psychological problems, sexual behavior, orientation, gender identity or attitudes, illegal, antisocial, self-incriminating, demeaning behavior, critical appraisals of individuals with whom the student or family member has close relationships, religious affiliations, all of those. When they're dealing with those in school, that they must have prior written permission. And this bill actually says that they must have it every year, that they must obtain it on an annual basis and not just once in the time that they're at that school. And so that includes a lot of things, but that does include teaching, children, and doing, which we want, which is a really great thing, doing the cessation program. So we want to be really careful that we don't take parents out. We don't exclude parents from these kinds of decisions, because once we take parents out of a cessation program, that's in code that can easily be applied to the surveys. It can easily be applied to, literally every other abortions, or to, and maybe not easily on abortions, but not very hard on abortions, and making it so that parents don't have to be notified. And certainly in other areas of the code and other areas of life dealing with children. So I love that bill. It's HB 182 S4, or maybe it says 3, because I was looking. Yeah, actually, it is a S3. There is a proposal for S4, but it has not been adopted. So between S3 and S4, I'll have to look and see what the differences are. But it's a great bill, and feel free to let the Senate Education Committee know that you support that bill if you do, because it is a great bill. And okay, we are going to talk about let's see, there's a lot of bills here, and I'm trying to decide which one I want to talk about next. HB 29 is also coming up, and that's sensitive materials bill. That is Representative Ivory, and that is a phenomenal bill. I just absolutely love that bill. It is excellent. That just says, that's literally, we've passed at least 3 laws, which seems unbelievable that we need to pass a law saying we shouldn't have pornographic materials in our public schools. They shouldn't be there. There is literally no space for it. And this bill just tightens up that language, and it helps make clear that bright line, what is unacceptable and inappropriate to do out in the world is inappropriate in our schools. There is absolutely no, there's just no space for that. We should not be having that happen. And it is unbelievable to me that in a state of Utah, that when we call for the removal of porn in our schools, that instead of removing pornography in our schools, they removed the Bible from our schools. Of course, we got it back in, but I honestly, it's just unbelievable to me that has to happen. Okay, I want to discuss HB 123. It's vaccine disclosure. This is a bill that I really like and I've really supported. It's sponsored by Representative Trevor Lee, and it's called Vaccine Disclosures. And it's a very simple bill. In fact, I think it's the shortest bill I've ever seen. It's very, very short. It just says that the healthcare professionals that use vaccines, that administer vaccines, must be transparent about who is compensating them for implementing is the wrong word, but for giving a vaccine. So if you go and get a vaccine, do you want to know who is funding that? Who is paying the doctor besides you? Who is paying the doctor to propose and to sponsor and to support that vaccine? It's not like we're saying that they can't be comped for it. They can't take, that bill does not say that. They can still be compensated. They can still take the remuneration, but it just simply says they must be transparent about it. Now, we're getting a lot of pushback from guess whom? Of course, the medical industry. And of course, a lot of us would say, well, they're pushing back. They don't like it because they don't want us to know. But I do understand part of the problem is that it does require them to report, which, don't we know, it's a big pain. Reporting is a pain. And so we don't want to make it, we do not want at all for it to be laborious and to make it just so difficult that it can't be done. That makes perfect sense to us, that we're not trying to make this just egregious over all the medical professionals. So we are looking for ways that we can make it so that it works for the medical profession and still helps the consumer know what who is comping and who is getting comped for those. So that's just a bill that I've worked on and I really like. Okay, I really want to get some feedback on a specific bill that, and I'm really sorry because I'm not prepared with the bill number. I apologize. It is sponsored by Rick Ship, and it seems really simple to me. It seemed like a very, very simple bill. I didn't think we were going to have a lot of pushback, but oh, do we have pushback. And it simply says it adds 2 days that you can buy or sell fireworks and 1 day that you can light them. And that day, the reason I'm supporting it, because you can imagine, that is Constitution Day, September 17th. So it doesn't, week of September 17th, you can light fireworks at all. It says that the vendors can sell fireworks for the day before and the day of, and that you can light fireworks not the day before or the day after, but on Constitution Day. Here's how I feel about that. Here's my take on it. We celebrate Independence Day, and we have with fireworks. It's in July. Very hot, very dry, but we do. The reason that we use fireworks to celebrate is because the founders knew that King George, his favorite way to celebrate his holiday, his birthday, excuse me, his favorite holiday was his birthday, and his favorite way to celebrate his birthday was through fireworks. He loved lighting fireworks, and that was the way that the entire England and America celebrated the King's birthday, was through fireworks. And so the founders said, you know what, we're going to use that same way of celebration to celebrate Independence Day, because that's kind of like, yeah, you celebrate your birthday, we're going to celebrate our birthday the same way you celebrate your birthday, with fireworks. And I love fireworks. I totally do. I love to go to fireworks. I do think it is fun to light fireworks. I love to have my family over. We do. I'm not one to spend $1,000 on it. Absolutely not into that at all. But I do like to, I do enjoy lighting fireworks or having my grandkids and my kids come over. It's fun. It's a fun tradition. We have never done it on Constitution Day because I'm very busy and because it is illegal. So this bill would simply add that. So the only pushback we got, but we got it in full force, was the firemen. They're saying it is, they would have to go and inspect every fire station. Every single vendor, we will have to go and inspect them. It will be costly, and they say September is very dry, although I will talk about that. And then they're saying that it will just produce more fires, which I am totally against. I do not want there to be more fires. I am 100% aligned with not more fires. But keep this in mind. I love firemen, and I really appreciate what they do. And I never want to even be seen as speaking negatively, or I don't want to be speaking contrary to firemen, but let's take this into consideration. First of all, the cities regulate where fireworks are lit. We know perfectly well fireworks are, they control that, and the fireworks can only be lit not in the mountains or in dry areas. They have those perimeters that they can completely control. And that is so awesome, and that is fine. And that is designed to protect and control and to keep, protect and to control the fireworks and protect the citizens. That is great. So this bill would still allow cities to decide where they can be lit. They might just say it can only be at the park that's really green, and it can only happen in this downtown where it isn't. There's not a lot of dry. So the cities would have complete control over that, and I support that. So that bill did get held instead of killed. And I would love to get people's input on that. Is it not a big deal? I think it's important for us to celebrate one of the most important holidays that our country has. Christmas would be first, celebrating Christ. Independence Day and Constitution Day cannot exist without each other. We would not have the Constitution without Independence Day. We would not have a country with Independence Day if we did not have the Constitution. They are married to each other. They are a unit, and they are both codependent on each other. And so I like to see our state do more to highlight Constitution Day and get people excited about it. And with that, I would like to introduce my next amazing guest that I just love and respect so much. And we're going to talk about DEI, but we're also going to talk about Freedom's Light Festival because Carrie does, she is one of my very favorites in helping with Freedom's Light. She is an amazing presenter. She is incredible. And so welcome, Carrie Bartholomew. Welcome so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
So happy to have you here. I'm so thrilled. I can't even tell you. Well, before we get into DEI, I would just like to just take a moment because I was talking about Constitution Day and the fireworks. Let's just take a really brief moment and talk about Freedom's Light Festival. So you can put that on your calendar. It is September 19th, 20th, and 21st. It's the week of the 17th. That weekend. So it's the 19th, 20th, and 21st. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Starts at 9 o'clock in the morning each day. Thursday goes to 8. It goes to 9. And then on Saturday, it goes to Saturday at evening, or you're going to have us down. We will do it. What we do is colonial America. Carrie, can you hear me?
I can hear you. You're a little bit choppy.
Okay, we just lost connection for a second, and I even have I've even got a hotspot because I can never trust the connection at the Capitol. It's not anything we could possibly trust, but hopefully everyone else can still hear. Okay, so we've tried to recreate colonial America by it's outside of the park, and we have people come and present as some of the founding fathers and some of the founding mothers of colonial America and past, beyond colonial. And we also have activities where you learn about the principles of the Constitution through activities, which makes it more fun than sitting in a classroom. As a history teacher and a Constitution teacher, find the more ways you can involve people and do it interactively, it's not only more enjoyable, but you understand it better and you remember it better. And Carrie she portrays, I mean, she could honestly portray anybody because she's so talented, but she portrays
Harriet Tubman.
Tubman, thank you. I kept going Harriet, and I could not get Harriet Tubman to come to my little brain. So, so she portrays Harriet Tubman and does the most amazing job. I mean, it's just incredible. I wanted her to do Elizabeth Freeman, but then after seeing her portray Harriet Tubman, I'm just like, okay, fine, Carrie, you can have anything you want to. It's amazing. So you can go to freedomslight.us, freedomslight.us, to our website. It will tell you about the Constitution Bee coming up in April. You tab on field trips or the festival, and it will tell you all about the festival. It has all the dates and information there. There's a few more things we are getting, we have a few evening things that we haven't updated, but you can get a lot of information there. Plus, you can always get a team together and participate in the Constitution Bee, which is in April. There's one for elementary, one for junior high, and one for high school. And we would love to have you participate in that. And anybody can get a team together. Any school or a community, a neighborhood, a family, just friends can get a team together and come and participate. It is a statewide bee, and the first prize is $500. Second place is $250. Third place is $100. So, it's a really fun way, and there's an incentive to learn about the Constitution. Come and compete. You could get prize, cash, trophies. We have other prizes as well. And so we try to make it super fun and profitable for everyone there. So go on the website, freedomslight.usa. All right, Liberty Mom Carrie, we're so happy to have you.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
Carrie, I'm so happy that she was able, because she teaches school as well. And so she just zipped out of her class and straight in here so that we can have her join us. So Carrie, you are right on the front lines. You're very involved. You have a really great voice on speaking to DEI. I think better than virtually anyone. And because I don't know why, I can't see you, and maybe you don't want your camera on, which is fine.
No, my camera's on.
Okay, because for some reason, it is not it's some reason your camera, you're not coming on, and you're so beautiful. I thought it would be nice to see you, but I have you turned on in every way that I know how to turn you on, as far as turning your camera on. So I don't know how else. Okay, so I'll keep fiddling with that. But while we're working on that, Carrie, give us your take on DEI. Is it such a great thing, right? It's just, I mean, who could be against diversity and inclusion and equity? Who could be against that? Why?
Me.
What's the problem? And me, but tell us why.
Sure.
Yeah.
Let me just start with, I just came back from teaching, and one of my
Yes.
students who I drive home asked me, can we please listen to Red Scarf Girl? And as we're listening to Red
Awesome.
Scarf Girl, we're in chapter 3, and they're talking about what's going on in their schools. And I almost slipped and said our schools, because DEI has been played out before. These kids
Yes,
were
it has.
afraid to say the wrong words, because if they said the wrong words, somebody might come and bully them, shame them. Now we have virtual shaming, but then they would take scissors and cut their clothes off in the marketplace. And so DEI sounds beautiful. Diversity, equity, inclusion. Diversity, we all want diversity. I am a huge proponent of diversity. I'm actually teaching Black history to all of my students right now, but the way that I teach it is a little different, because we were talking about Biddy Mason today, and I asked the kids to think about somebody who they didn't understand the word philanthropy, so I explained that to them, but I said, think about somebody who started out poor, who ended up wealthy, and who gave back to society. And so my goal of diversity, and I believe that this is the majority of people's, when they hear diversity, which is why they can't understand why anyone would be against it. Okay. The goal of diversity is to find that common thread, to understand somebody else's perspective, but to find the common thread that unites us. And that's what diversity should look like. But diversity never means diversity of thought when you're talking about DEI. So somebody like me is called melanin deficient. Somebody like me who has a different way of thinking because of a multiple of diverse experiences that I've lived through has come to make decisions and think for myself. That is a huge threat to the diversity, equity, and inclusion crowd. Equity always means equal outcomes. This is why we're lowering the bars. This is why our schools are not doing an alphabet grading system, but instead are doing a grading system of 1 through 4, and a 3 can be anywhere from a B to a D. So, or even an A minus to a D. Because we want our kids to not strive for excellence. And we can say all we want that, yes, we do. We're aiming for excellence. We're putting these ideas out, moving towards excellence. But when a kid can't gauge how well they're doing to start to improve, then they're looking for mediocrity. And that's generally what equity becomes, is mediocrity. We can't have gifted programs because gifted programs hurt people's feelings. We can't stress our students out with homework because et cetera, et cetera. And inclusion means really to center around some at the expense of others. So what that means is we bring in this circle, this module of, I actually have it right next to me. The module will say that, well, for however many years America's been around, it has been the white Christian male that's gotten the most benefit. And so we must push the white Christian male born today, the 11-year-old, the, child that just happens to be Caucasian. We must push them out to center around other things that haven't been celebrated as much. So that's why I'm against it. I feel like it is very anti the human spirit and definitely anti the individual. And I believe in the strength of the individual and excellence for the individual.
Yeah, it doesn't do what it says it's going to do, does it?
No.
It's not inclusive at all.
No.
And equity is not equality.
No.
They're very opposed to each other, frankly, really. I mean, equity is the outcomes. Equality, we want equality. Everyone is held with the same with the same respect and dignity. Everyone has the same rights and is treated the same way. But
And
we
whether we
don't,
agree or not, right?
whether
So,
we agree or not, yeah, that's the beauty of it. It's every single person, that's the beauty of America and our Constitution and Republicanism is every individual is treated with the same respect and has the same rights, opportunities, and equal judgment as regardless of who they are or what they believe.
right.
That's what's so amazing. That's so incredible in this country. Why would we ever want to get rid of that? Especially knowing history.
Well, how much history do we not know? That's really the question, is how
It
much
really
history
is,
is
Carrie.
being hidden. It's really been red washed. When I sit in the car and I listen to what those kids in China in the 40s were not allowed to do or say, and I listen to our cancel culture today, you can't help but have your jaw drop and just go, oh my goodness, the exact same things are playing out today. But we don't know that. Most of our kids do not know that. Even the kids in my car, two 15-year-olds, and they're sitting in my car and they're both like, wow, this sounds just like today.
Wow, that's so promising that they can pick that up, Carrie. That's the most hopeful thing I've heard for a while. I love that they could see that, but it is exactly right. It is exactly what Chairman Mao did. He made it so that you were afraid to speak your mind. You didn't dare because you would be maligned. And he also went and separated the children from their parents and their grandparents, got rid of everything historic. All antiques were destroyed. Anything that was tying you to the past, he wanted destroyed. No, we're going to look to the future. He replaced God with himself. He absolutely sought to displace the children from their parents in every way. And it was exactly what you're saying. I just think it is like it's eerie at how close we are following what he did.
Well, Delane, I take your idea of freedom's light and I bring that to my classroom and I have the kids choose anyone in history. And it started off with heroes, but some of the kids chose not heroes. Because we have studied Marxism in depth in my classes. And so the kids will choose the not heroes and they're going to, or the anti-heroes, right? They'll dress as the character and they'll tell their story and they'll tell what they did. And that's the thing, is that if our schools aren't going to teach it, then we as parents have to take that upon ourselves and make sure that our kids have this education, because I would not want any child today to live with if you watch on YouTube, you will see a lot of people who will talk about growing up under Mao. And some of them will talk about turning in their parents and watching their parents be killed in front of them. And when we teach our children to hate under the name of inclusion, because they are flat out being taught, especially to hate the conservative values. And that's what our kids are being, that is what's happening. Not in every school. There are many, many strong, good teachers who aren't doing this. But this is what's coming down the line. And this is what some activist teachers do. They do challenge the kids to question the way that what they were taught, what their beliefs are, et cetera, et cetera. And so we have to give the solution, which is, how I created this class. And it really is based on what you've done with Freedom Lights.
Oh, thank you. Well, that is, you just bring up such a really, really important part, because what's happening in the schools is as teachers retire and get out of the classroom and we hire new teachers, these new teachers have come through the education system, and especially in the higher ed, this is what they're being taught. And it's not that they're evil people. It's like all they know. It's what they've been taught. And it does sound reasonable to them, especially because that's what they know and that's what they've been taught. And the things that we've been taught, we tend to embrace and believe. And so the problem is that our schools are getting more taken over by this ideology, because it is literally the only ideology happening in the higher ed. So what's
Yes.
being taught in higher ed is obviously going to get into the K through 12 classroom, because the people teaching K through 12 just came out of higher ed. So that's why higher ed is really important and really matters, because it literally affects everyone in our society, far more than just the people who are in higher ed or attend higher ed.
Yeah, and it's also really in trouble. It's in a lot of trouble because they are being taught not to look at different viewpoints. They are definitely being taught one narrative. I have with me, if you don't mind me stepping off the screen for a second, I
Not at all.
have okay, just a second. I have a history book.
And she's going to grab it. And I can't wait to hear what the name of this book is. Being a history teacher, I love history books. And I'm just going to give the call-in number. If anybody wants to call in and talk about this or any other bill, our call-in number is 385-899-2134. 385-899-2134.
Of course, I took it with me, so I'm going to text my kid and tell him to get it for me.
Of course.
But the book is called Voices, and it's been created right here in Utah. The company is in Layton, Gibbs Smith Education. This book is ethnic studies curriculum for 11th and 12th graders. Just a second, let me tell him.
Yes, go ahead. We know how we're well, silly as moms. We're always double tasking it,
Yeah.
Do at least two things at once.
Okay. So within the very first pages of the book, it talks about how a belief in God is pseudoscience, and it shows that wheel of privilege and power. And and the wheel, so somehow ethnic studies turns into gender studies. And so what happened in Utah is that the governor decided to, and I've met with him. I've met with him and had a one-on-one conversation. And the objective of ethnic studies was to create something that would unite us all and that would celebrate our country, but that wouldn't hide the bad. I 100% agree with that, but that's not what this is. Ethnic studies becomes a Trojan horse. That Trojan
Yes.
horse comes into our schools under the name of we want everybody to be included and to appreciate other people's values. And what it really is page after page after page of how to dismantle our country and why we should. And that was created here in Utah for 11th and 12th graders. We also have a curriculum in some of our schools called Wit and Wisdom. These ideas are so one-sided that they only have people like Robin DiAngelo and Ibram X. Kendi and Ta-Nehisi Coates. And George Washington Carver is called an accommodationist. Martin Luther King they say he does not go far enough because he did not advocate to go as far as violence. And so this is what our kids are being taught. And then and the thing about this particular curriculum, which is called an Voices and Ethnic Studies Survey, is that the kids are asked to discuss what they know from this point of view of, from only one side point of view. They have current contemporary contributors, but they don't have people like Bob Woodson. They don't have people like Carol Swain. There's
Yes.
no second side to any of these conversations in any culture. And another thing is that throughout the book, it constantly talks about how we should all be okay with being equal. And we know that the people who create this, the people who are making a lot of money selling this stuff, are not going to be equal with the working class or the working poor.
Absolutely. Equal for you. Some more people are more equal than others, kind of thing.
Exactly. Exactly.
The elites are never included in the equal. They're above that. And you can look through all of history, through all of time, that has never been the case. And that is why American exceptional, that is part of American exceptionalism, is that there is not supposed to be an elite, that we're
Right.
all equal and treated equally. We elect our own to represent us. And it's for a time, and then they come back into the private sector. It isn't
Right.
about having the elite. It's about everybody being equal, not equity, but equal, having equal opportunity. And having equal opportunity obviously is not going to produce equal outcomes. Some
No.
people are going to make more money than others, are going to go into different things that they're more successful than others. The founders were not equal. They had equal
Right.
opportunities, but they didn't have equity, and they were not equal to each other. And that is the beauty. You get to do what you love and what's important to you and fulfill your divine mission here, not
Right.
someone else's divine or undivine mission, I should say.
And we can do more to make things more equal.
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
like
Mhm.
if you grow up in poverty and it is your first, your first round to go to college, you're the first generation college, I think they should make that easier for you. But it shouldn't be based on the color of your skin or your gender. It should be based on your circumstances because, as I've said before, it is extremely insulting to assume that everyone with melanin needs that assistance. There are
Right.
many
Yeah.
wealthy
So
people.
insulting, isn't it? It's so insulting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What I always say is stop using us as pawns
Yes.
because you're pushing socialism, but you're using us as pawns in the process. So I did get the book. My kiddo came in. So here's the book.
Oh, great.
It's called Voices. You can see maybe, I don't know, it's a little bit off, but it's done right here in Utah. Yeah. And then if I just start opening up pictures, it's just picture after picture. Every page, nearly every single page. Here's just one example. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Yeah, probably not. Anyways, this is a picture of all of many, many Black people drowning as they come to America. Now, is it true that the slave ships were absolutely horrific?
Oh, my
Yes,
goodness. Unbelievable.
100%.
Yeah.
Is there anything wrong with teaching the ugly parts of history? No. But when we get to the point where, as this book says, some of the lessons are hard enough that you need a school counselor in the classroom in case
Yeah.
kids have breakdowns, you need to ask what it is that you're trying to do to these kids.
Yeah. And we do know, like, there's just, kids are really suffering already, and then we're telling them that they're either oppressors or victims. Where's the hope in that?
Exactly.
There's nothing you can do about it. If you're an oppressor, you were born an oppressor, you're always going to be an oppressor. And kids are like, I didn't even know I'd ever oppressed anyone. I don't feel
Right.
that in my heart. I don't feel that way. I've never felt the need to oppress someone. And of course, being a victim, there's no power in
Right.
being a victim. Talk about demasculating everyone and dehumanizing people. If you're a victim, there's no power in that.
You're a pawn. You're a pawn
You're
because there is power in the fact that you can be used. You're a commodity for someone else.
Oh, you're so right, Carrie. I stand corrected. Very
But
right.
there's
Power
no
for someone
power.
else.
There's no personal power. And
Mhm.
just like in other countries, I don't know if you saw Beneath Sheep's Clothing, but just like in other countries, like with what Stalin did, it's perfectly fine for other children to bully and beat people because they don't think the right way.
Mhm.
There's something extremely disturbing that American teachers are okay with these ideas. And
That is a
obviously, again,
problem.
not everyone.
That is a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. That is a problem. And that is a problem that we have. I'm just like I was when before you came on, I was talking about the pornography in school. it's a problem that we have the pornography in there. It's a problem that those who are overseeing education haven't taken them out of their own free will and choice. They haven't just taken care of that and made sure it
Yes.
was already handled. And it's a really big problem to hear adults sit in a committee meeting and justify pornography being in the schools.
Yeah,
And
it looks rabid.
yeah, and to hear school boards justify it and say, yeah, we're not taking it out, even though
Right.
it's illegal. I mean, it is hard. It's hard to believe. I mean, we look at history and go, how could people do such things? How could they ever do? You look at slavery, how could people possibly have treated other people in that manner? It is hard to understand. But
Well,
then,
so Antonio Gramsci, he was all about sexualizing kids. The
yes.
faster that you can sexualize kids, the
Mhm.
faster you destroy their bond with their parents.
Yes.
So that's one thing. The second thing is that Emily Drabinski of the American Library Association, when she became the president in 2020, she openly said that I cannot believe the first lesbian queer Marxist has been elected. My mom would be so proud, and I can't wait to see what we're going to do. We're going to change the world. And then they started sending in book bundles. And so the thing is I used to be a volunteer librarian from the time my son was in second grade up until he was in sixth grade. Sixth grade was COVID, so fifth grade. Um, and I've put books on the shelves that I wish I never had because I didn't know. And that's the thing, is that when people go off and attack these, we're being pitted. Parents are always being pitted against the union, right? And so they're training people. So I will talk to people in the school and they'll say, well, if parents weren't blah blah blah, and every time they say it, I don't say anything back. I just listen. And I realize they're really being taught that parents are their enemies.
Mhm.
And putting this stuff into our schools, what I say is that books don't have to be perverse to be diverse. So we're reading Up from Slavery right now. But there's so many good books
Oh,
that
so many.
don't have to talk, that don't have to go into the great details. I've taken heat from both sides because, like, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings is a strong book with strong content. But it also has things that I read and was disturbed by. And for me, I read that book when I was a junior, maybe a sophomore in high school. And that book is a complete reflection of my life. So I remember the teacher passing out a bunch of books and telling you that you had a choice of what book you wanted to read, but she specifically said you should read this one. It still triggers me, and as someone who's been through abuse, as someone who's, grew up in the foster system, there are things that I recognize that people want to share the experience and share empathy, but you can have the empathy for a person without going into the great details of what happened when the door closed. Like, just saying, a 50-year-old man took me in the room, held my hand, took me in the room and closed the door is enough for a person to feel empathy and, oh my gosh, that poor kid. You don't need comments about the mattress shaking.
You
You
don't
know,
need all the gory details. You need
you don't.
enough, you
And
know.
so the fact that they want to do that um is horrifying. And also the fact that a lot of people don't have the facts is horrifying.
Yes, it is.
So people will come up and they will defend things that they have no idea, especially at the Capitol. All I hear from half the people who talk is, this is why you homeschool.
Yep.
Because they don't have all the facts, but they're sitting there and saying, just like the DEI bill, the DEI bill is going to erase us. How? How is it going to erase you when it's literally leaving in all of the things that you want? The only thing that it says is that you can't exclude others.
Yes, do you know the number of that bill? Because I'm not getting it to come to my brain right off the top.
I want to say 258. I'm super nervous that I'll be wrong about that.
I think it's 253 or 258. So I think
Yeah.
it's one of those, but it's a bill to kind of take out DEI out of the schools, just so there's no confusion.
Right.
And there's a bill to take it out of employment that just says, as an employer, you can, share your ideology with your employees. You just can't force someone to do something that violates their own conscience and to
Which is sad
participate,
that we're there.
which is unbelievable that we even have to have a bill to protect, but it is the world that we do live in now. Yeah,
Right.
it really is quite frustrating. Yeah.
Right. So the DEI bill, and I am looking at it right now.
I want to say the anti-DEI bill, just so that.
Yes. Well, actually, it's called the Equal Opportunities Initiatives.
Yes.
And that in itself should explain to people
Mhm.
that that's what it is. It is the
Yes.
Equal Opportunities Initiatives.
Yeah,
Okay,
and
so
that is what it is.
sorry,
don't-
that is
we-
HB 261.
261. Okay. Well, we
Yes.
knew it had three numbers in it, and it was a
Right,
two.
somewhere around there we'd get it right. But there's so many bills that you can't
Yeah,
help it.
I just can't remember all the numbers.
Yes. So HB 261 is the Equal Opportunities Initiative, and really the only two things that it did is said you can't discriminate against viewpoint. Now, I am the person when they mentioned in the bill that was protested for coming in to speak. I came in to talk to the students simply about this idea that we're all equal, that we should not be centering around some and excluding others. That was my whole viewpoint. And before I ever came, I was told, wait in your car. Wait in your car. You're going to have a police escort. We're going to take you in another room and keep you safe because there's going to be a protest. So,
That's just so unbelievable.
yeah, it's really sad because and I was upset about it. So people have, painted me off as the angry Black woman because but what I was upset about was sending kids to college to turn them into people who can't think.
Right. That's what we think, but how to think for ourselves, how to figure things out, how to use that gray matter to come up with solutions. That's why America, again, has been so successful. We were never stuck. We were always allowed to think for ourselves and be creative and think outside of the box and come up with solutions to our problems. And we have had to come up with solutions to our problems. We had problems when the founders founded this nation. We had problems and they had to come up with ways. And it is, how will we solve these problems?
Right.
And we're still doing it, right, Carrie? We're still trying to find ways to solve the problems.
Right. And when you bring people to the table and you have conversations, sometimes if you have the humility, you can listen and go, okay, this person's heart is in the right place. What I find a lot of times is that people want to be empathetic, but they
Yes.
don't necessarily recognize that their empathy is being weaponized.
Yes.
And so
So
if you can sit at the table, and this has been alarming to me. I've had a couple of situations where I've tried to speak to somebody and they just look like a toddler and get upset and maybe throw something or just walk away. If we can't start with truth in the same place, and you're just like, but I have reasoned material here. I can prove to you that this is in our schools. I can prove to you that this is the current situation for African Americans. I can prove this to you. And they can't even listen to you. And I'm talking about professionals that are older than me walking away and acting hysterical. And you're just like, I don't know what we do for our kids if this is what their professors are doing, or our senators or our representatives, right? So all of these groups that I was speaking at an event once, and I'm not going to say who, but I was speaking at an event, and I said, teach the kids the good, the bad, and the ugly, but you've got to make sure that you're teaching them the beautiful as well. Teach them that in the diner, when the people were having the milkshakes thrown on their face in Woolworths, that there were white people in the diner too. And I was interrupted, and the person said, how dare you say that? That's not true. And I'm thinking, you can watch it happen on YouTube right now.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
There's actual evidence of it. It's available.
yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and we never want to not share the bad and the ugly, because that's how you learn to be good and beautiful. We learn a lot from the failures, but we
Yes.
don't want to omit the good and the beautiful as well. We want the truth. We're truth seekers, we're truth speakers, so we want all of it. We want to learn all of it. And I mean, I love, as you know, at Freedom Site, I love to have people come and share the stories of the amazing Black founders, both men and women. And I mean, they are so inspiring. And I think they don't just inspire Black people, they inspire white people and every person, because we're just all Americans, we're all humans. And it's so inspiring to see.
You are lost.
To find people's stories who really did suffer horrible atrocities, and yet
Yes.
how they overcame, and they were positive, and they became very successful, and they not only became free, but they also taught others how to be positive, happy, and free.
Yeah, that's why I love telling the story of both Harriet and Elizabeth. I don't want a lot of the stories, even when I'm teaching the kids, they take out anything favorable.
Mm-hmm.
So Harriet, I was performing her last September, and people would come up to me and they'd say, I didn't know she had a story of faith. I didn't know she had any faith. I just thought she had epilepsy. And I was like, oh my goodness, faith was a huge part of everything that she did.
She
And
could not have done that without her faith. She just
right,
felt moved by the Spirit. Yes.
right. So watching people take those things out or weaponize them, turning Martin Luther King into the worst parts, highlighting the worst parts. I'm not saying that he was perfect. Nobody is perfect.
Nobody is.
But I do think that we must teach our kids to have hope. We can't talk about a mental health crisis and then throw this garbage at them all the time.
Creating the mental health crisis.
Yes.
Literally. Yep. And yeah, we wouldn't, I would not want to be judged by my worst day. I don't think we should judge anybody else by their worst day. I think, people all have divinity. Every person has divinity in them. And we want to see people as a whole and take into, I can learn a lot from George Washington's weakness as having a bad temper when he was younger. And I had a bad temper when I was younger. And it really helped me realize, like his parents said, you've got to get a grip on this. If you want to be successful and you want to have a good life, it's really important that you learn how to control your emotions. And it's taken me a lot longer to do it than it did George Washington, but it always inspired me to, he could do it, I can do it, and I need to do it. That I can't just say, well, this is how I am, I was just born this way. It's just part of me. Celebrate it with me, love me with it. That I need to work on overcoming it and to master my own feelings, that me as a whole, as a soul, are in charge of my feelings and emotions and my behaviors as well.
Yes. Well, and that brings about dignity.
It does. Yeah. And then we can respect each other. And I do think it's really important that we all, I just think it's so great to live in a country where we really have the opportunity to disagree and to agree, and that we can speak it, and we should always be able to speak our disagreements, and that we can love each other and respect each other even though we don't agree with each other. And I don't mean you, Carrie, because I agree with you. But I learned a powerful lesson when I first got married to my husband. I was very mad at him. And I don't know that we were having a fight other than I was really angry with him. And I think it was the first time that I'd ever really been super mad at him. Of course, I don't remember what it was about, but I just remember I was so mad. Like my body, I was just like, how could you? How could you do that? I was so angry with him. And he said, I know that you're mad at me. The question is, can you still love me while you're mad at me? And that was really powerful. It's like, well, yeah, I'll love you tomorrow when I get over it, but
Right.
can I love you while I'm mad at you? That is a tough one, and I, what could I say? What could I say? No, I can't love you while I'm mad at you. I'm like, okay, that's a fair question. And I should be an adult and be able to love you even when I'm mad at you. It's a
Right.
great, it's a great question. I thought that is a great question to ask somebody, especially when they're mad at you.
Yeah. Well, I think that if we can come to the table and have more conversations sitting down, that maybe we'll find less reasons to be mad. And
That's right. Love that, Carrie. I love that.
but that's part of the reason why a book like this is a problem. Oh, sorry, a book like this is the problem, because this literally says ignore reason and use your emotion.
I love
That's
that. Yeah.
really frightening.
Yeah. It's very frightening because who makes their best decisions when they're emotional?
Right.
When you're in fear, do you make good decisions? When
No.
you are in hate, do you make good decisions? When
Right.
you're in crisis, when you're in emotion, we do not, the brain waves, I swear, it does. The blood flowing through our brain goes to fight or flight. It does not go to the ability to reason and think things out. Emotional decisions, I would have to say for me, I can only speak for myself and witnessing a lot of other people, emotional decisions do not bring good outcomes. We want to make
Absolutely.
thoughtful, reasoned, reasonable, and thought out, intelligent decisions. You've got to use your mind. And God gave us a heart too, so we can include emotion in there. But that reason we have a brain is we're supposed to use it.
Right.
Yeah, very, very well said. Very good point. Okay, do you have anything else you want to say?
Yeah. Well, I'm teaching the Black History classes, and I know that there are people who will have their opinions on whether or not we should be teaching Black history. To be clear, I don't think we should have a month dedicated to one race, whether that's Black or Hispanic or anybody else. I think that the beautiful stories of history should be amplified all year round. And the way that I teach history is that I will take someone like Biddy Mason, and then I will have all of my students bring in other philanthropists, other people who have overcome and are now giving back or did then give back. And so I will be teaching those classes on my campaign page because I am running for state school board
Woohoo!
and for position 13. And I so I'll be teaching those lessons every Thursday, and my goal is just to get people to find the common thread, the respect and the dignity um, for each other based on these inspiring stories. So if anybody wants to check in, they can follow me at Carrie for Utah Kids, where I will post the link to where I'm doing these, but they're virtual. So
Yes,
yeah.
so it makes it very doable to join.
Yeah.
So awesome. That is fantastic, Carrie. Thank you so much. That is really great. It's a great opportunity for anybody to participate in, and you can just join when you can.
Yeah, and it's really important that people get involved in caucus because this is the only way we have a chance of pushing back against elitism. Um, Even though uh, the incumbent will be collecting signatures, I think it's important um, that people have their voices heard, because I think that if most people understood like what DEI is, they would not be okay with people on the school board supporting it, whether or not whether they support it in its own name or whether they support it under other names. Right now, one of the things that the school board has gone back and forth with, and I think they've made some pretty good amendments to change things, but the federal government said that they have to do diversity, equity, and inclusion trainings for our teachers. They have to. And I've seen what those look like, and they don't make things better.
They don't make things better. Talk about dividing us and pitting against each other. Yeah, they don't improve things, do they?
Have you seen the bill where they wanted to do report on your neighbors for idling your car?
I have to be honest, I haven't seen it.
Oh yeah, there's literally a bill where if your car is idle, you can report on your neighbor, and then you get a portion of whatever bill they have.
Are you kidding me?
In Utah.
And you get a portion of the proceeds of the fine?
Yes.
Oh my goodness gracious.
So
state.
Yeah.
That's right out of Chairman Mao's book.
Well, yeah. It's Dotsy style stuff, right?
Oh, God, goodness gracious.
Yeah, and those are the things that happen.
I got to get on that bill.
Yeah, those are the things that happen when we just trust that everybody has. When we just trust, or we say, "Oh, I'm not political. I couldn't be bothered." We're allowing more and more of those people to be elected and those ideas to be put into place. Right now, I don't think it's going to make any headway, but put 3 more people who believe that kind of stuff in office.
Yeah, absolutely. And give it 3 more years. I mean, it's just people get kind of dumbed down to that way of thinking. And, well, we're going to have to. To save the planet, we have to tattletale on anybody who idles their car for 3 minutes to warm it up.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Carrie, wow. I know. I'm always stunned at some of the things that get through because, if there's no opposition, they're just like, oh, well, everybody seems fine with it. So we do have to be on top of these things. Thank you so much for making me aware of that. I definitely got to find out about that bill. That's great. Wow. Oh, okay. You know what? While we're talking on that, one of the bills that I've been really following and working on is HB 316, inmate assignment. This is such a great bill. I feel very grateful to Representative Lisenby for sponsoring this bill. And it's really complicated. It's really hard to figure out. You might not know where you stand on this, but it just basically says that only biological women can go into women prisons and only biological men can go into male prisons. Who would have thought? What a novel idea. This is really amazing. Women in prisons, men in men prisons.
Yeah. Do you listen to do you ever listen to Benjamin Boyce? He has a podcast called The Voice of Reason, and he talks to a lot of people who have transitioned and detransitioned. And the atrocities that have happened in women's prisons because a person just says that they identify as a female, and then the assaults are how terrible for people who are already so far down on their luck.
Yes.
They're so far already down, and then they're being assaulted. And because of our political ideology that's thrown, there's no defense for them.
There's no defense. There's no way. I mean, the amount of rapes that happen in prison in these situations is just, it's just it's horrible. It's horrific, sad, and terrible. And then women getting pregnant in prison.
Yes. It's worst practices. We have worst practices in schools. We have worst practices in prisons. We have worst practices in society. And you can't imagine that all of these worst things, the worst ideas, the things that have been done in other countries and have been terrible for them, and now we're applying all of them in America.
We are.
And it has to be on purpose. It has to be on purpose.
Yes, it can't just be by accident. And we have to be awake and realize the unintended, because most of the representatives here, they're well-intended. Their proposals are well-intended, but you have to look at what the bill actually does and what are the consequences of the bill.
Yeah.
For real life people.
Yeah, I think that's That's a very important thing, is to realize that words are weaponized.
They are.
So coming all the way full circle, diversity, equity, and inclusion, it doesn't mean what people think it does. Especially that word inclusion has very strong ties to an ideology, period. And if you
Yes.
hear it, a red flag should go up. Why?
Yes.
What are they talking about with inclusion? They tie it in a lot. One of their tactics is to tie it in a lot with disability. But if you want to tell me, as the school board alluded when they brought in disabled people and for a unified school district, and then they changed that conversation to why we need CRT in our schools. They would call it, DEI in our schools, but why we need that is for the same reasons that special needs people need this. That is wrong for both people.
It is.
Special needs people really do need assistance. Not every person of color needs assistance just because they're a person of color.
Absolutely. Yep, it's totally true. My husband, when he was growing up, he never spent an entire year at the same school. They never lived in the same place long enough because they were so poor. They would get evicted. They would move out in the middle of the night. Often the sheriff would show up and have to pack up and move out in the middle of the night. He'd get home from school and his mom would have everything packed and it's like, we're leaving, and they would just take off. And so they would lived in hotels where they would just have to pay night by night. He's like, hey, I want some of this white privilege. Where do I go get some of that white privilege from? But you know what? My husband, not because he was white, but because he was given the opportunity to get an education. And I don't just mean a formal education. I mean the education that, honestly, when I met my husband, he had victim mentality. He had the education, and not full on, I shouldn't really say all the way. And he had really come out of it a lot by the time we met, but he had been kind of raised with that victim mentality, and he had to learn and find out and believe that he could be successful, that he could have a shift in his standard of living and in his lifestyle through his mentality. He has become a very successful business owner and has many employees, and he is, very successful person. And he did kind of go through this shift. And that is, I think, what holds people back more than anything, is that mentality that this is my place, this is my station, I am a victim, or I don't have the same opportunities, or I'm not capable. And that is where we really damage young people and damage citizens, is this belief system that they can't succeed. Everyone needs to know they have the opportunity, and if they want to, it is work and it is hard, but they can be successful.
Yes, absolutely. The oppressed and oppressor narrative is the tool for dismantling not only society but your own mind.
Yes.
If you think that you're a victim and you're always looking for oppression everywhere, which is the dogma. So if that's what you think, you will not rise. You will be mentally crippled your whole life. How miserable for these people who just troll social media looking for something to be offended by. It's sad. It's very, very sad. And it's like, what could you have done? What could you have accomplished? Who could you have helped?
I know. Yes.
The time that you just spent, being oppressed.
Yes. Very good point. Carrie, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate all the work that you do, and thank you so much for being with us. And we're really, really grateful. So I just want to remind everyone. Thank you so much. Remind everyone that you are listening to KMMU, as you can listen, obviously live, but you can also listen. It's on Rumble, and you can also go on KMMU.com and listen. And so we're really grateful to have this platform and the opportunity to share what's happening at the legislature with you. Have a beautiful day. Thanks so much. Thank you, Carrie.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thanks.